Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sports Corner with the Con Man on the Sports Empire Network. I got with me my boy Jordan, Jose, Jean Louise. Sorry about that. And my guy Mike. Hey, I ain't too proud. I got dementia. And my co-host Mike Sumner. How y'all doing tonight?
Man, you butchered the hell out of my name, man.
I did. You know something? They butchered my name as well. So that's how it goes. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, man. I know we've been waiting for this show, man. It's been in the books, so let's get on to it, man.
Let's do the damn thing. Now, for folks who don't know about you,
Yes, sir.
Jordan, let people know who you're about and what you be doing.
So I recently graduated from Montclair. Well, I live in Jersey, near New York. I graduated from Montclair State University with a bachelor's in sports communication, and I have my own my podcast called the JJ Sports Talk. I try to get you on there, but with the whole emails and everything, it was
Yeah. I hear you.
But actually, I got a birthday Sunday so I'm turning 25. So I'm kind of tonight. I'm celebrating tonight, and then the weekend I'm going to the city with my family. So yeah, I'm a sports broadcaster. I want to be on air talent, and yeah, that's what I want to do.
So where can people see you?
So YouTube. So I do the YouTube version, like my video version on YouTube at the JJ Sports Talk on YouTube. If you go to my Instagram, JJL_XL in the link, in the blue link, it's my link tree. I have all my links to Apple Podcasts. So, but yeah, on YouTube, or you find me on here, Facebook. I do stream on here through Facebook. So, but mainly YouTube, JJL Sports Talk on YouTube. That's where I'm at. You'll see my boy Kyle Edwards too. He's on here too on the network.
Yeah, Kyle's the bomb. And that's why I wanted you on my show, because I've been watching you and you be doing a damn thing. And I'm so excited for what you're going to become. And, I'm old as dirt, but, I feel it's my mission to try to help others get what they want. You know what I mean? And
Right.
my co-host, Mike Samuel, who you're going to meet right now, he is the man. Mike, chime in.
Hey, Michael, nice to see you. Jordan, we finally connect. I think we've connected a couple of times online on different conversations with Kyle way back in the day with baseball and some other comments. So it's
about what Carlos Correa and all that.
Yes, yeah. So we're connected through IM, which is nice that I can follow you a little bit there too. So it's nice connecting with you and nice seeing you. So great success down the line for you. So that's great.
Yeah. Like the comments that I've been a part of this network for since the beginning, man. So I mean, me and Kyle are on the Big Three on Tuesdays, the Big Three podcast, and I was on the cheap seats, but they had other plans, so I'm not on there anymore. But I'm on the Big Three. But it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah. It's great, and the network is doing so many great things right now, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And I'm sure you are as well. And I think that we're going to grow exponentially, and it's just a great thing to be part of. You know what I mean? But the reason why I got you on this show is because I want to talk NBA. I know you baseball, football is your thing. I know that. But
the NBA is my number one sport. NBA, that's my number one. And NFL, well, I'd say NBA first, NFL, I guess MLB, but they're all in one. They're all my favorite. But NBA is my top favorite sport to talk about. So that's a good night.
It is, and we're going to be doing the damn thing now. As far as the NBA is concerned, what is your feelings? Either changed or maybe the same as far as free agency is concerned, with the crazy free agency that's going on right now. And we don't even talk about the contracts, but let's go back with the free agency first.
So just like my reaction to it so far. Is that what the question is? Like my reaction to it, or like my thoughts on it? I mean, it's been wild. The key moves like Kristoff to the Boston, Marcus Smart going to Memphis. I mean, I thought that Marcus Smart was like the heart and soul of that Boston, that fan base, and it's going to be hard to fill those shoes because I used to hate Marcus Smart because he used to flop and get technical and stuff, but I've learned to love him more because he he hustles. He brings that fire that a team needs, and that's one thing that Boston is not going to be able to recover from because Marcus Smart can, defend. He's a top defending point guard in this league. But now we talked about on my podcast too, like Memphis. I mean, other than Steven Adams, they don't really have a veteran presence. But now they have Marcus Smart now, and I think now they brought in D Rose too. I think.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, I mean that was the first domino that fell. The Kristaps trade. Who else? Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. Lakers. My Lakers making moves. Re-signing Maria and getting Austin Reeves back. Lakers didn't really do anything. They just retooled. But now Dame is still out there. I mean, I'm tired of hearing his name every day. I don't know about y'all. Like Dame. Oh, Heat.
Oh man, yeah.
Heating up, but no moves have been happening. So it's been a crazy free agency, crazy year. So, but it's a lot of content to cover. So,
all right, let me break it down a little bit. Let me try to break it down a little bit. The Boston Celtics, their team, I might pronounce his name wrong, like I did you. Oshie Brissett, he agreed to a 2-year deal.
Oshie Brissett, yeah.
I don't know who the hell he is. And of course, Kristaps Porzingis agreed to a 2-year, $60 million deal as well. Now, what do you think, or how do you think the Celtics will be this upcoming year?
We still got the two pieces, Tatum and Brown. I know Brown has been in trade talks, but Boston has been said they're not trying to trade him. But he's gonna get a lucrative deal if they $295 million, I think, $300 million. So, I mean, I know Michael's a money man, so he likes to talk money. So all that, I don't know what the contract talks with that around for the max deal, but at first the Kristaps, it was kind of weird because Kristaps, he's a good player, but he's been injured. But if he can stay healthy, I mean, right now I think that the Memphis Grizzlies, they won that trade. But
I agree.
If Kristaps can stay healthy, I mean, he's a good shooter. I'm assuming they made that move because Al Horford is older, so they want to bring some fresh, Porzingis. But if he can stay healthy for the whole year, I feel like they can win the trade. So, I think that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that. Thank God that they still have that duo in Brown and Tatum. They still got them, but like I said, losing Marcus Smart, that's a big hole to fill. Because I thought, that was funny because they even told him that oh, we're not gonna trade you, but then I think they the Malcolm Brogdon trade didn't go through because of injury.
Yeah, and hurt. Injury.
They didn't really have no other tradable pieces other than Marcus Smart, but that's one piece that I think that they're not going to recover from. It's going to be hard to. I don't think Derek White can bring that intensity that Marcus Smart brought to the table. But as far as right now, Memphis did win that trade. But if Kristaps can stay healthy and stay and be the role player that they need him to be, I think they can. If Tatum and Brown and Kristaps can go off, that's a three-headed monster right there. So,
and also if they ever decide to go zone. You got Williams, Porzingis, and Horford. I mean, that could be not bad.
That can be scary.
That could be. My man, my co-host, Mike, what's your take?
Well, following up on Jordan's point with Marcus Smart, I think that unfortunately makes the Celtics more of a finesse team. I think that's been the drawback on them to a certain extent when you get into the playoffs and you have to grind. And I think Marcus Smart leaving. Those are those locker room guys that you need, right? Sort of behind the scenes that can motivate guys, some veterans, stabilization point for that team. Horford plays that too, but I don't think he can do it by himself. And you're bringing in an unknown. And if Porzingis can stay healthy, to Jordan's point, and he played 68 games last year, and that was a big accomplishment for him. So, we'll see what that looks like. I'm just concerned with the fact that it creates more of a finesse team. Potentially where you can actually score more points, but I'm not really sure on the defensive side, right? And that's where Marcus Smart actually lend that team, and he led that team that way. And I think a lot of what took place with him on the defensive side, I think the rest of the players sort of looked at him as the leader to that, and sort of were tipped off with how he's playing and that toughness. And I don't think you're right. I don't think you can replace that with White or Brogdon. I don't think they're that guy. They've never been those guys, right? So even a combination of that. So I still think there's a move there. Aside from the fact of signing Brown, I think that has to happen now. I don't think there's a trade there. I've heard different things with Lillard coming from Portland and making that move. I don't think that's the case. There'd be too much to match up with that trade and that salary for him at this point in his career. So I don't see that as an option. But one of the unknown things, and I'm not a Laker guy at all, but I did like their moves. Right? I think they stabilized the organization, they stabilized their team, and they made some nice moves. Right, so they didn't do anything dramatic or anything flashy. They just kind of rebuilt, retooled, and let's see where that goes. So I think that was pretty interesting, aside from all the splashy stuff that was going on in the league with Irving and Porzingis and everything else that was going on. And you still have some large chess pieces to move between Lillard, Harden, and we'll see what happens there, right? And you're right. I'm getting fatigued with this talk already, but
it's crazy. Man. It's like Dame here. Dame did this. Dame said that.
Yeah.
Draymond going to Portland and talking to Dame.
No. So it's amazing how when you have all this discussion about how much we don't know.
right.
In the end.
And Dame is kind of I don't know. He's kind of like not private, but he's kind of like doesn't really like to talk to the media that much. So like we don't know what's going on in his mind, you know. So, does he want to go to the Heat? I mean, he said on the podcast he wants to go to Miami, but I mean, I know. I kind of see where like Dame and then the front office, because like if they want to trade Dame, Portland wants some assets that way. I mean, obviously they got Scooter, they signed Jeremiah Grant to a massive contract.
Yeah.
5-year, 180 or 160?
168 or 183, whatever it was. Yeah,
183. I mean, some people in the chat, some people on the network have said that was he got overpaid, Jeremiah Grant. But yeah, I mean, obviously they're kind of on a rebuild, Portland, because with Dame going away, and they want to focus on building the team around Scoot. But we don't know what he's about in the NBA. Like, but he's in the G League, like. But NBA wise, who knows? He can be a bust. Who knows?
Well, it's interesting how everyone is Monday morning quarterback in the summer league, right? So if you have a bad game in the summer league, somehow that translates directly to how you're going to play in the NBA when the league really starts.
The overreaction on Wemby is crazy. That's like, oh, he's bad. Oh, he can't do this. It's summer league, man. Summer league.
Exactly. Hey, I want both y'all's take on what's actually going on in the NBA landscape. Do you know that the majority of contracts are not guaranteed? Do y'all know that?
I did not know that.
That is the trend that the owners are taking, because if you remember, they were signing contracts like to Magic and Weber, 10 years. If you notice, it's going down and down and down. The owners are tired because right now they're saying the players have the leverage. Watch what happens with the owners. They're going to make the contracts shorter and the guarantees less. What's your take on that?
See, like I'm not a mathematician, but like I know the money. Like it's like, well, I know like what they just signed. Houston signed Dylan Brooks to like what 3 years?
4 years.
4 years, 80 million.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that, because like obviously he's a good player. But I don't think he deserves that money. Like the way he acted in the playoffs and all that, and kind of like blaming the media for him painting him as a villain when John Morant was acting a fool. But these contracts are crazy. But some of the contracts are earned. I feel like in the NBA you have to earn your contract. Like, you see like LeBron, the KDs, the Devin Bookers, the Currys. They earn their contracts. But I mean,
how can you average 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and get a $40 million contract?
I can do that.
There's a whole bunch of them. Let me tell you.
Come on, I got to put on your old school J's, man. Strap
on.
No, but like, hey, but I do like the G League, because like if you're not really developed, you can make some decent money in the G League. Obviously, improve like my guy Ron Harper Jr. He's in the G League. He might get pulled up, So, but I mean, that's why the G League is there, because like if you don't really feel like you're making that money like in the NBA, and you don't feel like your talent's there, then go to the G League, you know, get some talent there. But that's where Scoot Henderson got brought up, like, you know. So yeah, these contracts are crazy. Some of them are overpaid. Who's that dude on the Suns? Watanabe or Junior Watanabe, or the dude from the Brooklyn Nets. I think he got overpaid, but
you know, I think a lot of it depends on the market, right? So if the market is dictating these things, then they're not going to bend away from it. I do think where Michael was heading with this, though, is looking at the collective bargaining agreement that was just signed, right? And
Correct.
So you know, the approach with that and the philosophy and methodology with that is to create a more competitive league through the salary, right? So that you're not having those extremes. The luxury taxes are coming into play. They're trying to make it even where you don't have these teams where you can kind of hold on to guys forever, right? So you're trying to make it more competitive. And I think that's also an interesting point to this. But also one of the things that was said this week by the commissioner was talking about foreign money coming in and how he's not supporting that. So that's another revenue stream that they've actually, you know, put their fingers on and said, no, we're not going in that direction. And I mentioned this before in other podcasts. The other piece that's going to fall here soon is what's going to happen with ESPN in that contract. So there's going to be alternative viewing elsewhere, but I wonder how that plays out to everything between the collective bargaining agreement, what's happening overseas with money coming in or not, and why and what that looks like for them, and also ESPN potentially breaking free away from Disney and what they look like as a freestanding stream and what that means to the league. I'm sure they'll figure this out, but those three things to me are looming for the future in the league and also potentially for other sports also.
I mean, we've seen with the NFL. I know this, like, we're not talking about NFL, but like with the whole YouTube and NFL, I mean, like DirecTV, the whole TV deal, like, which I'm kind of happy for, because I don't have DirecTV. I have Xfinity, so I couldn't even watch NFL, like, you know, local games. So, I mean, we're seeing with new TV deals how, you know, the bargaining agreement can. I mean, that's a good point, Michael, because like what the other week, like Friday, there was like 20 people that got fired. Like,
yeah,
yes.
Like,
and that's something that's going to be ongoing with that particular company, right? That organization has some things they have to deal with, and again, I'm not. This is not anything unique on my part as far as creating this conversation, but with ESPN, I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think it's not been announced, and I'm not almost positive that the decision has not been made. But I do think that changes the landscape as far as what those owners look like or what they actually anticipate as far as money coming to them. Right. So that revenue stream is gone, or it'll change and it'll be updated. And that, Michael, I think, which to your point is that starts to impact those contracts where you start to shift away from the higher percentage of those contracts being guaranteed. It becomes lower. And then you start looking at, it's going to be incentive based, which actually changes everything all over again, right? Because we have that new rule sitting in front of us where it says you have to play so many games to actually be thought of or considered for an off-season award, right? And
I think it's 65 games, I think.
Yeah.
65 minimum, yeah.
Right, those incentives that are there for that will now become real for those guys, right? And I know it's real now, but it'll actually have a larger impact because of the fact, to your point, Michael, where you start looking at different lengths of contracts and how much the percentage is guaranteed.
Yeah, I've never seen a 5-year or 10-year NBA contract. I mean, that's usually like 1+1, or, you know, KD, like LeBron, 2-3 year deal. So, yeah, I mean, like with baseball, you can sign a deal for like 14 years, $360 million. Like, there's no really cap. Remember, NBA, you have to, you know, kind of like limit the number or the years of the amount. But then again, you're like Tatum, right? On the Celtics, he gets his contract, his basketball contract, and then I think his mom's his agent, and he like kind of like separates the money from the NBA from his endorsements deal, which is like great. Like, so that's that too. Like, so if you know you're getting a lesser contract, you still have that. If you market the like Nike or Adidas right as a player, you might get lucrative incentives from like Nike or Adidas or whatever. So there's all the backup for money.
I want to ask you. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm just going to say that for those superstars that are sitting in whatever league that they're sitting in professional sports, right? Those guys will not be that impacted. It'll be the mid-level guys and the guys that are making up their rosters where that's where things will change, right? And that's unfortunate that those guys are kind of hanging on to certain contracts and trying to stay in the league, trying to stay on a roster. And you have those things where how many games I'm on a roster, those types of incentives are going to change. So it's those players, and every single sport will change over time.
That's a good topic. It's a good topic because I thought about it, like the whole load management thing, right? That's kind of how they're stopping it from next year. Like think about it. If like LeBron or Kawhi is sitting out, you're losing money because like fans want to come see those players. Just like you said, Michael. Like those, like the LeBrons, the KDs, like they're good. But I'm talking about like people who. So if they're sitting out or missing a game because they hurt an elbow or a knee. I mean, obviously, injury is an injury. If you hurt yourself, you can't play. But if you're able to play, and that player's sitting out, then that's hurting revenue for not just the organization, but in the NBA as a whole. And so that's why I think they're doing the 65 game minimum because, like, obviously, for awards, and I think if you make like all NBA first team, you get
right,
or All-Star or whatever. You make All-Star, you get a little. That's where John Morant messed up. Well, I bet we'll get into that whole John.
Oh, we will. We will. But my next question.
I have one more point. So this is something I learned a while ago, and I wasn't aware of this. And Michael, you and I talked about this, I think, where the load management in that incentive was coming not from the player. I always was under the impression it was the player. It's their agents that are driving this. So now they take it out of the agent, yes, right? Because they were afraid of their guys getting hurt and playing in back-to-backs and multiple games in a row. And it took away to your point, Jordan, about that TV audience, that overall face of the league, right? So that has to ding up the league as far as what it looks like when you have people who are saving up money to go see somebody play and LeBron sitting out tonight, or whoever is sitting out tonight as far as the star players. Right. But yeah, it was the agents that were driving this, and this was driving the coaches and the organizations crazy over they weren't supporting this. So I think the end run was, oh, by the way, we're going to include the 65 game minimum now if you want to be considered for a postseason award and those bonuses that we put into your contract. So it's interesting. And again, I'm not playing conspiracy guy here, but I think if that's what's happened, better hang on to some stuff because if that's the league is now kind of weighing and putting their thumb on this.
That's a good point.
My man, that's why he's on my show, man. That's why he's my co-host. But anyway, what I want to ask you guys again, the NBA has instituted a new thing now whereby mid-season they're having new championship series. Do you think that has anything to do with making sure the stars play? Although it may or may not because they're already getting paid. But what incentive do you think the players have, the stars have, to compete in these, I think it's mid-season tournament championships?
I mean, I think it's to bring in more revenue and just, like you said, make sure the stars are playing. I don't know.
But would that give them incentive? Would that give them incentive if they're making $45 million a year?
I can see. So I think the in-season tournament is a part of the 82 game season. So I can see if it was like a separate tournament where it's risk of injury. But I think it's built into the season. So I don't think players will have a problem with it. I think that'll even make them want to play even more. Maybe you're a team that you do not like San Antonio. I know they're kind of on a rebuild, but they're in the tournament. So maybe they're not going to win the championship, the actual NBA championship, but they can win, that trophy. And it's kind of following like soccer, like the whole, the group stage and all that in the knockout round. So yeah, I mean, this is the plan that Adam Silver has had in his books and for a couple of years now, and I'm excited. As a fan, we can watch the stars play, and I think this is an incentive for them to play. And for a team that's on the Jazz or I say OKC or a lower team, they can probably have something to kind of brag about, have a little title, even though it's not the main title. So I think it will give teams a reason to play or stars to play. And I think the group stages they're pretty interesting. I think if you look at all the groups that are grouped in, it's kind of like they're all kind of competitive. So I think it's a good idea.
You know what I think is it's a good idea because a lot of us on the East Coast don't really get a chance to see the West Coast teams.
That's true.
This will allow us to be able to see some of the West Coast teams a lot more, and and I think that might be beneficial to the league as well as the fans, and obviously it's going to be revenue generating as well.
I agree because I want the East Coast too. So I'm going to watch like the Lakers on if they're on prime time at 10:30 or whatever.
And you're a Lakers fan.
I'm a Lakers fan. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, we're going to get into that too as well. But go ahead, Mike.
Be careful with the Laker talk.
Oh man.
Yeah, I do think that it's going to generate some further competition and some further. And again, we're kind of teasing back and forth about content as far as where this lands. So it'll be interesting how it morphs itself through the league in that level of competition where you may have a team, to Jordan's point, kind of show up and beat some of these teams who are really not incentivized to really play. So we'll see. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm not that crazy about it because it feels false to me that we're kind of creating this potential drama, and I find it odd that we can't deliver that through the league itself in direct competition. But we'll see. We'll see. I think, again, not going back to the load management piece, but I think there's some fallout to this, right? So I think the load management piece is kind of driven where, oh, by the way, we're going to have this in-season tournament where, yeah, you're going to expect the stars to play, and they're going to play against some really good competition. So we'll see. I'm interested to see it, but I'm a little disappointed that they couldn't be a little bit more creative with this and start to drive it through the season, the regular season, as to what's really taking place. And, why aren't we making those times a little bit more available for the West Coast group when you're coming east, or these East Coast teams are playing out west? Why can't we change those times to make it a little bit more open so everyone can actually see these things? Man, we get enough interaction through streaming that shouldn't be a barrier any longer, that we can't see these teams play. This is pointing to me that we're actually having to even have that discussion right at this point. We have enough technology that we should be able to do this.
What else, Faison? How you doing, man?
We get some comments, which is great. I enjoy that. That's great. Now let me ask, because I got my man Jordan on here. He knows his thing, so I'm gonna keep hitting with some questions. I feel
like I'm getting like interrogated here. Like,
so you didn't know, Jordan, you were coming on and you're going to be on the hot seat for all this?
Man.
Yeah. Hey. You my dog, man.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
What do you think the end result will be with my man, John Morant? Do you think he learned his lesson? Do you think having Marcus Smart there might be a role model? And what do you think, even though the NBA has given him what I believe is a break, what do you think? Could the NBA have done more or less?
All right. So the first question, man, the whole John Morant, it's like part of me wants to feel bad for the man, part of me doesn't, because like obviously if you got caught the first time, you don't want to do it again. And I think that he kind of stabbed Adam over in the back, because I'm pretty sure when he went to New York the first time, he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm not gonna do that ever again." I know NBA is it's a private company. So the way he got caught the second time, it was shocking. I mean, it was like, really, you didn't learn your lesson? And I think that's been like 8 games, right? Like,
yeah.
So, and I think Marcus Smart, he might be that guy to mentor him. Then they got D Rose too, obviously. But I don't know, John Morant. I think that for the last part of the question, I think that what they should have done was to set a really high standard for whoever else would do this, would suspend him for the whole year. Because obviously you did it once, now you do it twice. But maybe they do like a 3-strike policy where, okay, first time, Second time, all right, little. If you do this again the third time, you're out of the league. But then again, like who's in his corner? I mean, is his dad? I mean, I really want. I don't want to talk down on someone's father or family, but is his dad? Is his dad in his corner? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he saying to him? You know, behind the scenes, like, hey, son, you gotta do this. Like, he has a big house, big contract. But he wants to act all gangster, and I don't like it. Because you have kids who support you, look up to you, and when they see you brandishing a gun on live TV or at a club and whatever, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I think Marcus Smart. I think that's why they added some veteran leadership in there because Marcus Smart, like we said earlier, Marcus Smart brings you that responsible mentality which it's big to say because I used to hate the dude, Marcus Smart, but I've learned to grow on him. And the road. So I think that's why they brought him in there to learn to teach him. Because if they didn't make those moves, they're a young team. I mean, Bane is there; he's young. The only older person that was there was Steven Adams, and he was really not playing really. And but yeah, I mean, I like that they signed or traded for Marcus Smart. I think that was one of the reasons why, to mentor John Morant. And he's talented. He's a talented guy.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're doing this stuff, like kind of like hurting and we talk about creating your brand, right? Like if you're signed with Nike or Adidas, you don't want to be labeled as a gangster. That's how you lose a contract. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, but I think a punishment will probably be a suspension for a year. But I'm assuming that's gonna be the next step if he does this again. But like we said, I think he's spent like 25 games. I think so. He's not gonna get any incentives. So that's out the book. So he's gonna get his contract and not anything else. So because I think you have to play like a minimum game to get those incentives. So I don't know what to say about John, man. Hopefully he's get some therapy, getting some help, man. I'm serious. Like get some therapy, getting some help. Because obviously, like if you pull the gun on the wrong person, then you might get killed or something might bad happen to you. Like,
and also before I let my co-host come in, what example are you setting? I mean, you got a guy who's from the hood, who broke basically, and comes into all that money and don't know how to handle it, don't know what the hell to do, and he's still young. You know what I mean? And I'm not making excuses for him because it's not right.
Yeah.
But something needs to be done to teach these young millionaires how to be professional.
And he has a daughter too. I mean,
yes.
How would his daughter think about like him doing that? And I know she's young, but like, I mean,
strip clubs. Come on, man.
Yeah, but what's going on? Who?
Oh, we got something.
Or get the comment or whatever.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Hey, I enjoy y'all tuning in, man.
Oh yeah, I think that's Kyle Everett. They're talking about the bit right there. That's
Kyle? Oh, okay, cool. That's your partner. Hey, Mike,
Wait,
what's your take?
Are you a Boston fan, Michael?
Hell to the no. He is, not me.
So what fan are you? Are you a Philly fan for basketball?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm just a basketball fan.
Oh, you're
straight
a
up.
basketball follower. Okay.
That's why I can do my show and be objective. You know what I'm saying? That's why I do what I do.
That's true.
Mike?
I disagree with Jordan as far as where I thought that punishment was going to go. I thought it was going to be at the minimum half the season, and I wouldn't have flinched if it was for the whole season.
Yeah,
I would have been like, okay, they're setting a precedent here. They don't want this behavior to go on, and not to get lost on this, right? But Michael, you and I talked about this a bunch of times, right? Where
oh yeah,
it's a very young league, right? You get guys going to the G League, guys coming out of school after a year. They're barely 20 years old, right? And they're signing big contracts. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, and I don't think they understand that. I wouldn't understand it at my age, right? I'd just be completely lost as far as what those expectations and those pressures would be. So now you're asking a young guy to come into the league with all that money, endorsements, and then perform. right? And how do you deal with all of that? How do you deal with your celebrity once you leave the court? Because that's what happens. These guys turn into celebrities with social media and all of those expectations that take place. So I don't know. I don't know where this lands. And I agree with Jordan as far as Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart coming in there to hopefully create some guidance, right? To set as just follow the example, right? These are two mature guys, right? So they've come through different paths too, because Derrick came out early. I'm not sure where Marcus did. If Marcus came out early, but they're very mature guys. They've been around, right? They've seen a lot. So if he follows their example and he sees how they behave and see how they react, then he's going to start to straighten himself out. But that can't be the only thing, right? There has to be a lot coming from him, as Jordan was saying. Get some therapy, get some assistance. You're going to have to step away from some of the friends that you have that are impacting what's going on, right?
Cut them off,
Yeah, Michael, you and I talked about this, right? It's not just the incidents that were on social media. There was a large incident in Denver where his friends attacked a security guard and a gun was seen, right? And somehow that disappeared, but it didn't disappear from the league, right? The commissioner mentioned that they were investigating this and everything else. So it's not one situation. It's the totality of all these situations that have come about. And now he has to face this. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot in front of him, aside from being a very good basketball player and being very entertaining and have a lot of following and have a lot of endorsements. But I'm not sure how you're going to fix this as a young guy. It's very, very difficult culturally from where he comes from and who he has around him, right? We've heard those stories before where there's entourages that are around and there's some pressures that are there. And how do you deal with all that? I don't know. I don't know how you deal with it. I can suggest and I could recommend, but I don't know how all that works. And it's not just an easy fix. It's time in and time out that you have to make some very adult decisions about what your life looks like, not just on the basketball court, because the basketball court seems to be fine with him. It's everything else that is attached to this. And again, a young league, young men making a lot of money, a lot of access, a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
Right? And that's hard. Right? If you're not mature enough, I know what age I am. I know what age Michael is. That falls in my lap tomorrow. I got problems. Right? How do you deal with it? How do you work through all of that? So I hope things turn out well for him, but I'm not sure of that. I mean, you would need to see some evidence of this as time goes on. And a lot of that is behind the scenes and you don't need to see it publicly, but he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I mean, I got 2 quick points, like in Michael, you laid it out perfectly, but I don't like to bring politics or like race in this, but like John is like a black man, right? And you're coming into a league where, I mean, not just a ball player, like you're coming into a league where like you're black and you're known, like the stereotype is known as being, gangster, right? So why would you portray that image to the league? I know Memphis is I heard it's a crazy, some parts unsafe areas, and I know as humans we're supposed to have a right to a gun or whatever as a human, but when you're dealing with this, when you're being paid by an employer who is a private corporation, and they have the rules like, okay, you can't bring this on a team plane, you can't bring this on here or show this on social media, you have to set a standard, and like you coming in the league as a black African American player, you should already know that like if you do this, like people are going to say things about you that people already said before you got to the league. And like Michael said, like we don't know, maybe he came up. Well, I think he went to school in Kentucky, I think, Murray State.
Murray. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that was the suburbs, but I'm pretty sure it was. But like we don't know what his background was, but you don't want to come into the league and do those things twice now, where the first time people were saying bad things about you, now doing it a second time, and now people are even saying more hurtful things about you. And the second point is just like the second pick in the draft, Brandon Miller. He was he was in Alabama, right? He got caught up with some gun things where obviously he was let off, but his friend, I know this is kind of off topic, but like kind of similar because like that to what teams had like problems with, like, hey, is this dude a civilized guy? Like he was in his case, like involved in it at one point. Obviously, the law did his thing, and he's innocent. But his friend, who he was associated with, is in trouble, and that could have been him.
And someone died. And someone died.
So John Morant, you're already in the league, man. If you're hearing this, the Con Man podcast, the Con Man. If you're listening to John Morant, please, man, like you don't want to end up like a normal guy. I mean, I don't know how to put it. Like you don't want to end up like dead or like in prison. So, if you're listening, man, get some help. Take this 25 games. Stay healthy, obviously, which he probably will. And just get some help, man. Please, man. Get some therapy, man. Get some guidance, man. Call Marcus Smart, right? Like if I was him, I would be calling Marcus Smart, give Rose, like, I need your help. Like, so. And I feel bad for the coach, man, because obviously he's a coach, Taylor Jenkins, but like obviously he has no part in like the John Morant, but like how do you deal with a player like that, man? Like where he has all the talent, but he's missing games. Where they're the number 2, number 3 seed in the West this year,
right? Yeah.
Now they might dip in the league in the standings. So,
in playing the NBA is a privilege.
It is.
I think people forget it's a privilege.
I wish I was making that money like y'all was making, man.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it's taken for granted because I'm old as dirt. So I go back from the 1960s and all, and I know all the work that they had to go through in order for the people to reap the benefits of what they do now. I'm not going to go old school on y'all, but I remember that. So I see it as a privilege, and it pisses me the hell off that these young individuals, I'll be nice, these young individuals take it for granted. It's a privilege. You could be asking, you want fries with them burgers. It's a privilege. It truly is a privilege. That's my point. To play a game, to make $40 million a game, that you can take care of your family and your family and generations, and you're gonna mess it up by brandishing a damn gun
twice.
What kind of thing are you setting up? What kind of statement are you making? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know. Mike, what's your take?
Well, I wanted to follow up on one of the comments about, his behavior just shows, it feels like it just showed up all of a sudden. And I think the all of a sudden, in my opinion, is the money, right?
Money.
You don't know what's going on in college, right? And I think those expectations and pressures coming from when you're making this kind of money really comes in, right? I think you have some outside pressures, and you're making the point of trying to set up his family and making sure they're okay, and you have that opportunity to do that. Maybe those pressures was what has really gotten to him, and that's unfortunate. And again, he wouldn't be the first person that falls under that, right? Where we've heard all these stories before, where athletes come into the league and they're taking care of 30 to 50 people, and that's hard. That's on you, right? That's on you to make sure that if I'm going to be in the league at a minimum, if I'm around for 3 years or 5 years, and I'm supporting all of these people, and that's hard, right? As for anyone. And as I mentioned earlier, not to beat this, but young guys, right? Really young people. And again, having those pressures and having those expectations in front of you, I don't know, man. It's just, one of the things that concerned me way back when the one and done started to come in was just this, that you were getting a very young league and young men who, to be honest, right, they're a work in progress when they come into the league, right? They're not refined, right? They're great athletes, and that's why they're there, right? And they can play basketball, but they're refining their skills as they get in, and you have to kind of work through that as a fan. You have to be patient with your whatever team you're following, whatever player, as they tend to develop, but you've got money on the table, right? So families and organizations or other pressures from endorsements that, you're trying to put a face on this, and they're endorsing you because you can perform on the basketball court. Now, all of a sudden we have these things that are occurring off the court in endorsements. They get very, very quiet real quick, right? Either they disappear.
And what you said is true. And the key is for these individuals to not be a professional on the court, but off the court as well, because your career is only maybe 5-10 years. You got to look at what your life is going to be after you're done playing the NBA. That's why you need to prepare yourself for that. And how you do that is be a professional off the court as well, as far as making business decisions, as far as the things you want to invest in, take care of your family, and brandishing the gun is not going to do the damn thing. I'm sorry. That's how I keep it.
Yeah. Nah, I'm so happy that the NFL, like the NBA the NFL has like the Man of the Year award.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then the NBA has I think Drew Holiday won it. I think the Muhammad Ali. I think so. I'm glad those leagues have that award because, like, I mean, it takes courage. It takes you to really, be at the top of your game on the field, and then it doesn't take hard to be off the field. You just gotta, support your community. Go to community events, do charity, and be a part of the community. It's not that hard. I mean, obviously, it's hard for like the young fellas, but that's why the league has those kind of awards to to hold a player to that standard, and hopefully like Drew Holiday or like I think the lineman won it from the Rams in the NFL, like Whitlock, I think, from the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
He won it a couple years ago, and
Okay.
I mean, look up to those guys, or LeBron James, a guy who hasn't been a part of no crime, which he could have been because he didn't grow up with no father. With a mom, he was kind of living in poverty at one time, but then again, he, but that's another topic. But, like a guy that LeBron hasn't really gotten into any trouble, plays the game. That's why he got a lucrative Nike deal.
Chris Paul,
Curry.
Dwayne Wade. Those are guys you got to look up to.
Yeah.
Kevin's got that. Oh, I mean, those guys, they're there. You just got to reach out.
They're in the NBA. I mean, they're former NBA players, so it's not hard to reach out to them. You just gotta, do your part as on the court and off the court. Because like Michael said, well, how do I Michael 1, Michael 2? How do I different? Mike and Mike. Like, so I guess I'll call y'all Eminem.
There you go.
But Michael, I guess Michael S. Like Michael S. said, he said that these Nike deals, like they're looking for people who are perform well on the field or off the field too. So, I mean, and also like Michael said, like Ja, like he can have all the help in the corner that he needs, but it's up to him.
Of course,
it's like my dad always tells me, if it is to be, it's up to me. So, as an individual.
Unfortunately, the league, and when you start looking at the money and what's really taking place, unfortunately, it feels like it's very transactional, right? That if I behave this way, I get this. If I behave this way, I lose this, right? So, and that's a weird place to be too, where you're on the line and you have sort of this Monday morning quarterback on your shoulder all the time about my behavior. Yeah. And that's where, unfortunately, as I was saying earlier about social media comes into play, where everything you're under the microscope all the time. And once you sort of enter into that, it's very difficult to walk away. And so, again, young guys, young people, organizations who want to have their hands on this, but in some situations, they're sort of, I don't really want to. I have to back away. These are young men. They have to make their own decisions. They have to live their lives. And those organizations end up dealing with the fallout. And that's difficult for them because they've got hard decisions to follow through also based on the league rules. So it gets to be very, very complex as you go through this. Once you start getting into trouble, if you're kind of riding in the right lane, you're good. But once things start to go sideways, it's very difficult to kind of pull it back. Some players in some leagues, men and women, have been able to do that and redeem themselves and come back. So hopefully that's the case with him.
And also, one of the people who chimed in, they talked about Taylor and Brown. Now, these guys have more than held their own off the court as well. And when you pay these guys the extensions that they want, the $200 million, you don't want to have to worry about them off the court. Right. And with those two guys, guess what? You ain't got no worries because they're going to do the damn thing. And it's good to have role models like that who can continue and be role models to others and show others how to be pros.
Well, Brown, isn't he part of the NBA post? Brown's part of that association, right? The NBA Players Association. So
yes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, if you really want to make that money, like 300 million or 290, like you have to, they shouldn't really have to worry about them acting bad. Yeah, I think Kyle makes a good point. Like those two players are what young players should look up to.
And they're the exception because those guys came out early too, right? Yeah. And I mentioned this on a podcast a little while ago. One of the things that attracted me to Brown was his second year. He wanted to play in the summer league because he wanted to improve, right? So he'd worked in the off season. He wanted to show his what he improved on, and I'm thinking summer league. This guy's a big investment, and he's playing summer league to show his team, show the organization that he's taking pride in what he's trying to do and trying to improve. That's huge, right? So yeah, you want other players to follow those guys. But unfortunately, as we've talked about all the superstars, those guys are the exceptions, right? They're the exceptions athletically as basketball players and how mature they are. And they had to grow into this, right? That's not something you just take on, but you can get a sense with players and people in different situations about their maturity level and how they're going to respond to stress, right? And that's what this is responding to stress, right? Stress management all the way through. And so in business and in athletics and corporations, those are big talking points as far as how you're able to kind of cultivate your organization and how it grows and how it stabilizes and all those buzzwords. But so you can see I've been living that the past couple of weeks with my stuff. So I get it, and I understand how it impacts overall. And the league looks at that too, right? So the league looks at certain franchises, looks at certain ownerships as far as what they can and can't do. So be interesting how all this kind of moves forward with the league and how it starts to change because some of these guys we've been talking about are getting a little bit older now. Right, we're not really sure how long they're going to be around. We know LeBron said the other night that it's not his time yet to leave, so we'll see. But that's you're talking 2 or 3 years where you may have a big change with some of these guys stepping away.
Which leads me into my next question, y'all, is what the hell is Dame Dollar going to do, and what the hell is Harden going to do? What's your take on that? We got about 5 minutes left. Let me know what y'all think.
Man, the two most I hate mentioning their names because it's so annoying. Because where are they gonna go? Mike, you're gonna go first, and I'll go next. And
I'll go really quick. I don't think Dame leaves. I think he stays, and I think Harden. I think the easy decision for him was Houston. I'm not really sure if that's viable now because it seems like they've made a decision to bring in young guys. So I'm not really sure where he goes. He's going to have to take a major pay cut wherever he goes. I do know that. But that door and that window for him is sort of closing. So I'll end with that.
I feel like Dame will either stay with Portland or go to Miami. I've heard that they're talking it up, but it's about the fact what is Miami willing to trade and what Portland wants. And then I think that Harden, I don't know where he goes. I heard Clippers maybe. I don't know. But I did hear that wherever Dame goes, if he doesn't go to Miami, he'll sit out if he gets traded to the Charlotte or whatever, just for a random team. But he'll sit out. He'll take the Ben Simmons route and sit out and not play. So that's what I've heard. But yeah, Harden, I don't know. Like Michael said, he might take a pay cut to play somewhere, but he has to. I think he tarnished that Philly relationship because I know Doc is out the door. The new coach Nick Nurse is in. So. Yeah, I think he goes. I think to the Clippers. Dame to Miami.
That's all great points. I think that Harden, because he's about Harden, he can make the most money where he's at. I think he's well aware of that, and I think he's going to stay with Philly. And as far as Dame's concerned, I got 2 words: Pat Riley. Pat Riley. Pat Riley can make it happen. If he wants to make it happen, he can make it happen. I think he's going to end up in Miami. They don't have much to give. Maybe Hero, 2-3 picks. I don't know how they're going to do it.
It has to be Hero. Hero.
Hero and maybe Duncan. I don't know, but I'm telling you, Pat Riley. Best believe he's doing something to make it happen. That's what I believe. He's going to end up in Miami. Harden's going to stay in Philly, and life goes on. Oh, one more question before we go. What do you think about the new rookie? I can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna call him.
Victor
Yeah,
Wembanyama?
yeah, BABB, whatever his name is.
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah. What do you think about him? And what do you think his impact will be 2 years and after 5 years?
I mean, hey, he's on a team with Greg Popovich. He's in good hands. Tim, I think that's why he signed like was a 3-year deal. Now it's a 5-year deal. So Duncan's staying there for the foreseeable future. I like him, man. Like 7'5" center who can do it. I wish he had more time because like I know like the whole how the game has changed from just like the regular center to a center who can like run point. Really like he can bring it up, bring the ball up. 7'5", has hands like a point guard. And I don't really listen to people on Twitter and Facebook about he sucks because of one game. Like he obviously is.
Gee, that's crazy. Yeah,
like Spurs are in a rebuild, but he's a piece that is obviously gonna fit. And he has Tim Duncan in his corner. I think he's an assistant coach, so he has the right people in his corner. And as far as like 5 years from now, I can see him being. I think he's gonna get Rookie of the Year. It's gonna be him or Chet Holmgren because he missed a year last year. But I think that and he might get an MVP. Maybe not with the Spurs. I don't know because that roster outside of Victor is kind of I don't know. They're young, but he might get an MVP. I know he might get Rookie of the Year, maybe his first or second year. But yeah, what a team to be on with Greg Pop, one of the best coaches ever in the NBA to coach. So he has a good corner.
Right. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, real quick. Yeah, I'm following Jordan here as far as the Monday morning quarterback as far as his first game, right? You can't easy on the guy, right? He's just played his first game. He's coming off of transitioning from Europe and getting here. And he played better in the second game. But again, it's summer league, right? So let's give the kid time to develop. And if it doesn't happen in the first couple of years, it's not a bust, right? You just have to let the kid develop. And he's a young guy. He's a unique body type for the league. He's got a lot of talent. Let's see how it plays out. Where do we play him, right? How does Popovich use him up against how the league is being played right now? How the game is being played in the league? What does that look like for him? And does he set a precedent for that particular position, right? Is he now considered to be a point center or a point forward? What does that look like? And I think the immediate issue is let him develop. In 2 or 3 years, one, I think you would find if he develops, he's going to be stronger. He's going to look a little bit bigger because he's going to have to be. And I think you're going to find that he's going to be a very nice shooter, can handle it really well. So you can actually have him start to lead your team, and you start to build. If he starts to develop, you build your team around him, right? His skill set.
Yeah, and then like this one last point, like the fact you mentioned Europe, like he's played with grown men, so
right.
I don't really have any worries about him going against the best centers in the league. So he played with grown men, and he even said that the rules are even different than what they are which they are. Like you actually play defense in Europe and foul hard and stuff. So. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be fine. But I think people need to go easy on him at this point, right? I think this kind of coming after him after one game. I was like, geez, really? And it's summer league. It's not like it was a preseason game or even when you get into the regular season, he's going to have to adjust, right? It's going to have to adjust to the league and those pressures and all the attention he's getting. And that's going to be different. We talked about that at length today about the players getting attention. So we'll see how that works. I think he'll be fine. I think you're right. There's good structure around him. That organization is well tuned as far as Duncan's a very mature guy. He was a mature guy in high school. So, you have that kind of leadership there. And Duncan has always been sort of that quiet guy that leads. And that's good for him.
Yeah. I saw the comment didn't bring up on the whole flopping rule, but I don't know. He left.
Yeah, Michael froze, so he'll try to pop back on. Yeah.
I mean, before we go on, I don't know who ends the thing, but I guess we can talk about the flopping rule real quick. How do you feel about that? About I think it's a flop and a technical. I think.
Yes. So I think I was going back with Key back and forth the other night on online where we were chatting back and forth, and I mentioned to her, I said this follows international soccer. This follows the NHL. that has these rules in place where it's not an incentive to flop, right? So they're trying to put something in. And I understand why, but it's pretty frustrating. I have to have a rule around this so guys don't behave in a certain way. And I understand that, and it gets in the way. And unfortunately, the person that, and not to go anybody against LeBron, the Lakers, but he seems to be the face of this. And I don't know if that's because of his name and because of his stature in the league, but he's got some pretty famous flops that have occurred that have been well documented.
Him and Marcus Smart.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
back in the day.
Yeah, but it's frustrating that you have to kind of deal with it. It's like, really, I have to have a rule, and it's a technical. And so, if you look at the research on the rule, you can't foul out on that technical. I'm like, oh yeah, right. I have to recall all this and remember all this as a fan or even as a player, as far as the limitations and how it's actually circled. So we'll see. Right. That frustrates me that we have to have the rule in place.
I'm excited to see like how it affects like Harden, like the players that are known to flop, and it's gonna be here to see like them like arguing with the refs. Like, oh, I didn't flop. Like, it's gonna be funny. But I don't know I don't know if we're done here. I don't know if we close up the show.
Yeah, we can wrap up. I think I can. Yeah. Can I close this? I don't know if I can close this. I will try. I don't have an end to this, so Michael is actually controlling all of
that. Yeah, definitely, Mike. If you want to be on my show, man, definitely, man. I'll have you on. Me and Kyle, man.
Sure. Send the invite. I'd love to come on and talk.
I'm not sure what your. Oh, I know we're live, but I know okay. Like what your schedule is. I'm thinking we're doing. Like, do you do like NFL and NBA talk? Or
I could do both. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm doing a show Monday. Like probably afternoon time.
Okay. Send me something. I'll see what my schedule looks like.
Yeah, I know for NFL, we're gonna go over our running back list for the 2023 season. Like, go over like who's the top. I know last week we did the QBs, all 32 teams. We're gonna do running backs, and then the week after we're gonna do wide receivers. Not only for content for like the NFL until the season starts. So
okay,
but definitely,
I think if we leave the studio, I think this clicks off. I think.
Yeah, usually there's like an outro and everything. I guess there's no outro. So I guess with that being said, I'm like the guest, Jordan John Louis, and then we got Michael.
All right, Jordan, great seeing you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Connect. Thanks. Good night.